Hello and welcome to Up the Villa podcast. If you are new to our channel, subscribe, drop this video a like and get involved in the comment sections on your thoughts in our 1-0 win over Brisbane Roar, which keeps our pre-season win streak going, our clean sheet win streak going as well, yeah. Bit of a tongue twister there, but yeah. So Villa win again, match reaction episode. Villa fans, I want to know your thoughts. Who stood out for you? Who are you impressed with? And how do you feel like the squad is shaping up? Hopefully you all watched our episode about sort of like gerrards, sort of saying we need to get 7th. That's the aim next season. So if not, go back, check that one out. If you are new around here, just subscribe. It's free. We create tons and tons of content over the course of a season. So we are your place to come to straight after the games, before the games, fan cams, you name it. We do a bit of everything. So, yeah, if you can, all the content that we produce is absolutely free. So all we ask is that you hit subscribe, and we're on the road to 8,000. So let's get there as quick as we can. So I was at work today. I managed to watch all of the first half and the last 20 minutes. So Justin can fill us in the bits in between. But yeah, I did watch the majority of it as well. So in between my clients. So that was good. Some people had quick haircuts today. So
lopsided.
Villa come first. Villa come first. So unfortunately, you know, quick, short, back and sides. But yeah, I mean, the lineup, let's just quickly, for the people that didn't watch it, if this wants to load. Yeah, so let's just quickly try and find the lineup then.
I've got it here if you want it.
Go on then, what was it?
Martinez, Cash, Chambers, Carlos, Dean, McGinn, Kamara, Coutinho, Bailey, Ings and Traore was the starting 11.
So, from what I'm reading from that, again, strong first half lineup. Cash, Luca Dean started with Diego Carlos, Martinez in goal. So for me, pretty solid back five. We saw the partnership of Kamara and McGinn. I think that was probably for the first time, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken. So that was interesting. Coutinho started in a bit, played the game in a bit of a number 8 role. I'll let Justin give his thoughts on that. Bailey started with Danny Ings and Traore as well. So a few partnerships starting to bubble away. Justin, you may as well kick it off then. What did you make of it?
Yeah, interesting lineup. You know, we've seen these chopping and changing teams friendlies pre-season, so to be expected. A couple of interesting bits from that starting lineup was Emi Martinez as captain, which probably on the face of it doesn't sound that surprising, but bear in mind that John McGinn started and he's generally took the captain's armband whenever Mings hasn't been on the pitch. So I know we talked about this, and I know Gerrard talked about this, that you know, about Mings. Was he going to stay as captain? But there's a little maybe hint there to what might be coming in the season, because I would imagine whoever starts the season as skipper, that'll be it for the season. So could it be that we're going to see Emi Martinez as captain for the next season? I don't mind it, to be honest. He's probably the player that's going to play every single game regardless, isn't it? So it makes sense on that behalf, and he's probably one of our best players. So that was an interesting thing. And then the other one was, like you say, Coutinho in the 8, not in the 10. When I first saw the team news, I thought it was going to be back to sort of Dean Smith type formation, 4-2-3-1 with McGinn and Kamara holding, with sort of Coutinho in the 10, either side, flanked either side by Bailey and Traore with one up top. But it was you know, he stuck to his normal formation when he sort of Kamara was holding, and it was Coutinho and McGinn in the 8s. I don't think it particularly worked, if I'm honest. I think when he sits that deep, he just doesn't get involved in the game enough in the important positions where we need it.
For me, it felt a little bit like Grealish vibes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like when Grealish used to get it on the halfway line,
and
we were looking for him to do absolute. I got that vibe when I was watching today.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, Jack used to have to pick them. We used to say he'd have to pick the ball up off the back foot and beat 7 or 8 men before he became in a critical area of the pitch. Whereas you put him higher up and he's only going to beat 1 or 2, and everything he does creates havoc. And I feel that's the same thing with Coutinho. But if you're going to try it in pre-season,
Yeah.
and I don't mind it in pre-season.
Do you
You
know
know, I
what? I
think
mean, in some games, I mean, next season, it might work out all right, mightn't it? You know,
yeah, yeah,
I think what we've seen in a lot of these games so far, and I know it's pre-season, and I know the opposition's who it is, but we seem to be. And Gerrard, when he first came in, he wanted us to be a possession-based football side,
yeah,
and I think at times when we are coming up against maybe teams in and around the relegation zone, and they're playing with like a low block and there's 10, 11 behind the ball, maybe a Coutinho a bit deeper might actually quite work because he's getting on the ball. He's looking for sort of like the other creative players. Maybe he's trying that for that. Do you know what I mean? So I
yeah.
get what you're saying, definitely. But maybe he's just looking at different ideas.
Yeah, I think it's not a terrible idea when we're playing against the weaker sides in the Premier League and maybe cup games where you want to add that extra bit of creativity going forward. So by dropping him into that, you are releasing 2 positions in the flank sort of areas that cut in. You know, you can fill him with sort of more creative players going forward. Whereas we've generally seen when he's played 3 in the middle of 6 and 2 8s as more what you would class as technical centre midfielders. And Coutinho really is a 10/forward, isn't he? So yeah, I didn't mind it. I don't think it particularly worked. He didn't have a lot of influence on the game. He was picking it up so deep, just laying it off. I don't think he really created anything going forward. So for me, that didn't quite work. And I thought the 2 sort of wide men, Bailey was okay. I don't think he was as impactful as he was in the first game. And Traore again, okay. I think he cut in and put one over the bar at one point. But considering the level of opposition, I was a little bit disappointed with the cutting edge. We didn't seem to press him very high. We was sort of allowing them to have the ball. I think that seemed to be an actual tactic. So I think that's something they were told to do. So maybe that was another trial, really, if you like. You know, seeing how that works, was letting them sort of don't engage the press until they get a bit deeper in our own half, maybe. And I don't think that helped Coutinho in the 8. I think if you've got a higher press, you've got more chance of winning the ball back higher up the pitch. And then Coutinho's then in a position more of a sort of old-fashioned 10 higher up to maybe impact the game more. But because we wasn't having that high press, we wasn't winning the ball back until probably it got to the halfway line or even in our half. So he's having to pick the ball up and do stuff in our own half. So yeah, I think the first half was a bit of a disappointment, to be honest. You know, it was a bit of a nothing half, really. Proper friendly game. They were just knocking it about.
Yeah.
Good for fitness.
When I was watching it at work, I thought this feels like a pre-season friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's move on then to the second half. Villa Youth turned up. We saw Kesler, Constant, Mings, Augustinson, Douglas Luiz, Irabuna, Ramsey, Buendia, Archer, and Watkins take to the field. So it was nice to see Augustinson get a couple of minutes in his legs. I think he needed a bit of match time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I'll let you talk about Kesler, and then we'll get on to the main man up top in a bit. So talk to me.
Yeah, like that second. I think we spoke after the last friendly that you asked me what I thought we'd see in the next one, and I thought we might see some of the more kids in the first half, but I think it probably made sense to bring them on for the second half once the game had sort of settled down and they could make an impact. And boy, did they make an impact! Augustinson, we'll talk about him. Obviously, he gave him half an hour, then he brought him off with Ben Cresceni, and he came on for the last half an hour. So we ended the game with 5 academy players on the pitch, which any fan of any team, especially in the top flight, to have 5 academy players pushing for sort of starts is, for me, it's a dream world for me. I think it's fantastic. As much as 50, 60 million pound signings are lovely, to see players coming through, for me, I think it's fantastic. And they all did themselves a world of good, if I'm honest. I thought Kessler Hayden, he's just phenomenal. I'm sorry, but that kid is a top quality right back in the making. He just looks so comfortable on the ball. He gets up and down well. He's good in the air. He's got pace to burn. He's technically very gifted. He does fling a decent ball into the box as well. And this kind of thing's only going to get better the more he plays, you know. So I think it's time for him to stay in and around the first team squad. For me, he's our second choice right back now, and I'll be disappointed if he went out on loan, because I think with 5 subs and hopefully a decent runs in 2 cup competitions, hopefully he'll get minutes on the pitch as well this season. Although Matty Cash has been excellent, I think we've seen the end of Gilbert. I think that this signals the end of his time at the Villa, which it's a shame, but we move on. And I think in Kessler-Hayden we've got to invest. We've got to invest in these kids now. Timmy Rabunam as well, fantastic. Sat in the 6, and the best praise I think you could give him in the second half is you couldn't really tell the difference between Kamara in the first half and him in the second. He did everything Kamara did, and he's a young kid, isn't he? Kept the ball really well. He's a presence in there. He's a big lad. He's well built. He's good on the ball. He doesn't give the ball away. He's got a decent passing range. I think Gerrard was sort of waxing lyrical about them all after the game as well. I got a couple of quotes actually. I don't know whether you've got any, have you?
Well, I know that he said something about when I think it was Mings. I think I saw a quote from Mings saying that when these youngsters step up and come into the first team, sometimes they play within themselves. Now, I would counteract that slightly. And what I always think when I watch young players who are very, very good, sort of like, I don't know, a Foden or whatever, a very young age, when they come into the first team, if they are good enough and they believe in themselves so much, they don't look out of place.
No,
and what I would say about Kessler, Irabunan and Archer, they back themselves to go to the top and they believe in themselves. And I think you can tell that there's certain players like Gilbert that sort of, he's not backing himself. A Sanson, he's not backing himself. And they look out of place. But these 3 that come in here now, for me, they're the real deal. And I'd want all 3 of them to be in and around that match day squad.
I agree. I think take Kessler-Hayden as on his own. I mean, the 2 loans he had last year have done him absolutely the world of good. He went away to MK Dons, didn't he, at the start of the season? No, Swindon, wasn't it, at the start of the season? And he absolutely blitzed it there. Fantastic. And he came back and he stepped up a level to MK Dons, did exactly the same, blitzed it there, come back. And that's given him this belief now that he's good enough to play in the top flight, and he is good enough to play in the top flight. Gerrard said of Kane, he said, I'm delighted with Kane. I thought he played with quality, and it was his moment of quality led to the goal. I thought his all-round game was quality. He had one of the moments, if you've been ultra-critical, when I think he gave the ball away in a tricky position, but that was the only blip, really. And he said, I thought the academy lads represented the club really well, and I think that just echoes what we've been saying, that the standout players for me in the whole 90 minutes were the 3 academy lads. Tim, again, he said, Tim played with discipline. I was delighted. He's really given me something to think about, whether to keep him on or not. But to make a decision extremely late on that, if I was under pressure now, he'd be staying in. So I think it all maybe depends on what they've got coming down the line transfer-wise. But I think as it stands, you'd have to sign some hell of a good players for these lads to have to go out on loan now, because they've made a huge impact for me. I know we're going to come on to Archer in a minute, but just impressive, really, really impressive on all of them. It is, honestly.
Yeah, and then let's get on then to Archer. I'm seeing like a lot of Villa fans saying that we need a striker, we need a striker, and all this business. But I do think we've got 2 very, very good strikers at the club already. They both have their difference in qualities. They're both different types of players. I can't see another striker coming in that is going to dispossess those 2 of match minutes this season. And then you've got Cameron Archer, who just it doesn't matter who he's playing against, he scores goals, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think he'll be like as a player in the Premier League. I see a lot of people saying that there's a massive golfing class, there's a massive step up. We all know that, don't we? We all know that the Premier League is the best league in the world. We don't need to be told that, but given a chance, honestly, I think he can do it. I think he can do it because today, clinical in the box. You know what I mean? One touch at his feet, boom, goal, job done, and class.
I think we've got to be a little bit careful we don't over-egg him, but I think it's very difficult not to because of what he's done. Every time he gets on the pitch, he scores goals. So you just get more and more excited every time you see him. And at the end of the day, a chance is a chance, whether you're on the Sunday Park, if you get a yard of space, the goals don't move. They're the same size.
Justin,
If you've got
remember
that
our game at
ability.
Villa Park?
Yeah.
Goals are goals, do you know what I mean?
They just
One
don't
touch,
move. Yeah.
bang. You've got it
And
or
he's
you
got,
haven't.
exactly. And it's something that you know, ever since I followed football from a kid, so nearly 50 years now, some people have this ability. Gary Lineker was very much like this. He'd just know where the net was. The ball had come in. He'd find a yard and he'd just put the ball away. And you'd think, how's he done that? And Archer seems to have this knack, you know, of just finding himself in a position in the box. And he did spurn one chance at the start, so he's not infallible, obviously. But I think as far as the strikers go, going into the season, Matt, I think there's still a chance from sort of reading between the lines of what Gerrard said. He's still thinking that we are going to improve the squad. And I suppose his thinking is, if we went out and signed a world-class 8 that plays every week, and you've just signed Kamara, who plays every week in the big games, you've got one position left. So I suppose what he's saying, this is how I read it, is if I'm going to sign world-class players in 2 positions, so let's say for argument's sake, we signed a world-class centre-forward and a world-class centre midfielder, then Archer and Brunham they're going to be stifled for minutes. They definitely are. So it probably would make sense then to get a move to a very, very good championship club, like a top champion, like maybe even a Norwich or somebody that's going to push for the title next season, because I suppose playing 30, 35 games for them is better than maybe 5 or 6 for us. But I think if we don't improve the squad, what we've got there is ready-made players that can make a difference next season. And I think this is the quandary that Gerrard's going to find himself in now in the next 3 or 4 weeks. What do I do? They must have targets. They have people that want to come in. And there is people that would improve our team. There's no doubt about it. There's world-class players everywhere. And if we can get a deal done for a world-class player, then we will do it. I've no doubt about that as well. But if we can't get these deals over the line, then what these players have shown is they're ready to step up now and be a part of the first-team squad. And it's just whether Gerrard thinks they're going to get enough value on the playing side to stay with us, or whether he thinks the value would be to get him one more loan move. I don't know, but they've shown today that they are all absolutely phenomenal. I also think Buendia played well today. I just chuck that in as well. I thought he did really well when he came on, you know. But like I said earlier, to have 5 academy players finishing the game, you know, and not make up the numbers, just to chuck them on, you know, to say, let's just give them minutes. You know, they were fantastic. As I said, it's class of 22 is incoming next season.
Yes. So I'm going to be doing a match preview for Man United. That'll be out tomorrow. But Gerrard has also said that about some of the fringe players, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So reading between the lines then, Keenan Davis, not featured in the last 2 games. I'd say he's one of them that will be sold. Gilbert, I don't think he had a great game against Leeds when he came on. I think he was out of position quite a lot. And I just think it's just not going to work, is it? We've seen him now for a number of years. He's been out on loan, but you know, think about this as well. How many managers have had a look at Gilbert as well over the years that have been Aston Villa manager? None of them have really fancied him, have they?
No.
So that is also another point. Sanson wasn't involved today. I think that one's done as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm just sort of trying to write down names here of players I think will be going. I think you're right, Gilbert. I think House will be gone. I think we've got 4 very good centre halves and a young kid coming through as well with Feeney, so we plenty well stacked there. I think the time's probably up on Sanson. I think Al Ghazi will be moved on. Chukwuemeka we already know about. Davis as well. So there's quite, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 straight out the door. We have got, I think he called it a bloated squad. I think it is. I think there's 33 first team players if you count all the kids in there as well. So I do think perhaps the likes of Philogene Bidace, who hasn't had much minutes, I think he's got a bit of a knock potentially. So I think he's probably a little bit behind the others we've been speaking about. So he'll probably go out on loan again and have another loan. We've seen the Louis Barry go out on loan. We've seen Finazaz go out on loan as well. So the ones that are just below the ones that are making an impact, I think they'll go out on loan. And it's the 4 real, it's Kessler Hayden, was the three, isn't it? Kessler Hayden, Irabunum, and Archer, really. I think, obviously. Oh, and Aaron Ramsey. Sorry, that was the fourth, yeah. Aaron Ramsey. I think he'll probably end up going out alone because he's, again, in that bracket, I think, with Fuller Jimby Dace. But it's the big lads, the Irabunum, Kessler Hayden. And I think Kessler Hayden, for me, is nailed on to stay in the squad this season. From what I've seen today, I think he's a future England right back, if I'm brutally honest. I think he's that good. But the other two, it's just depending on what they do business-wise. I think we spoke the other day. I think that they'll probably want a forward and they want an 8. It's how good they are when they come in and what that does to the squad and how it pushes those lads down the pecking order. But that's the manager's decision, isn't it? So I think whatever happens, if they stay, fantastic, because I think that could add value. And if they go, that means we've signed 2 absolute world-class players. So it's a win-win for us, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll end it there then. So thank you, everybody, for watching. If you are new, subscribe, and we'll speak to you for the United preview. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.